Hey adventurers, welcome back to another episode. We are diving back into We Have Epic Universe at Home by tackling Celestial Park. We're starting with this Ube Pizza, or the Pizza Lunar from Pizza Moon, and I am starting by activating some active dry yeast. Put that in warm water with a tiny bit of honey. I didn't even measure, it was that little. We're going to rehydrate some ube powder because otherwise it can get pretty gritty. I've also never really worked with ube before, but I figured it'd be easier to do in paste form than dry and risk having a really dry pizza crust. We're going to integrate that with our active dry yeast mixture, and then we're going to add in flour. Normally I use 5 to 5.5 cups of flour, but I used closer to 6 cups. We're going to knead this out and then put this in a greased bowl to rise for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then we're going to divide that into 2 pieces and ferment that in the fridge for another couple of hours or overnight. I get really good flavor from my pizza crust this way. Next, we're going to work on our bechamel, our roasted garlic bechamel, by making our garlic confit. So we're going to take some garlic cloves, put that in a container, and then shake that vigorously for like 45 seconds. And that will actually help you peel your garlic. You'll see that most of them are peeled when they come out. I'm going to chop the little ends off, and then we're going to cover this with about 1.5 cups of olive oil and roast that at 200 degrees for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And then I'm actually going to use the remainder of that garlic infused oil for other delicious things. Next, we're working on the bechamel itself, equal parts flour and butter. We're going to make that into a roux and cook that until the flour taste is gone. We're going to add in milk. I also added in a little bit of Parmesan cheese with our roasted garlic confit, and then I'm going to season this with some salt, a little extra garlic powder. I wanted a little more oomph, and then pepper, and we're going to set that aside. Moving on, we're going to crisp up our pancetta. It's in the recipe. We're going to roll this out. My oven was preheated to about 500 degrees, by the way. We're going to put our bechamel down, and then I couldn't find the cheese that they had. It's a soft cheese with a vegetable ash rind. It's kind of like a brie, but I had to use a brie with similar notes since that was unavailable. Top that with ricotta, pancetta, garlic confit, and bake. Moving on to the birthday cake cookie, we're going to beat our butter, our sugar, and then we're going to add in cake batter extract, because if you tell me something is a birthday cake flavored cookie and then it does not taste like birthday cake, I'm gonna be upset. So we're going to add in some cake batter extract. We're also going to add in our funfetti flakes. We're going to use the circular sprinkles, not the rainbow jimmies. We're using funfetti flakes that you put in cake. Okay, these are cake batter funfetti cookies. We're gonna chill that batter in the fridge for an hour, and then we're gonna roll it out onto, we're gonna put the balls onto a cookie sheet, and we're gonna press those flat with a cup. That'll serve as an excellent placement for the birthday cake frosting that we're gonna put on these cookies once they're cooled, of course. For the frosting, we're going to take some butter. We're going to beat that until it's nice and fluffy. Add in some cake batter extract and vanilla, and then some powdered sugar. I probably used about 3 cups for this, and then we're going to spread that on and top that with some marshmallows that I had to hand sort from the Lucky Charms box. Moving on to our olive oil cake. I'm using Claire Saffitz's Meyer lemon olive oil cake recipe because I had never made one of these before, and in Claire Saffitz we trust. Guide me, Claire Saffitz. Anyway, so we're whisking this together, and I found that when I was ready to stream in my olive oil that my bowl kept spinning, so I put it on a cork trivet, and that seems to have solved the issue. So I don't know if that's a hack for anyone, but it worked for me. So we're going to stream in our olive oil and create basically an emulsion with our eggs, lemon zest, and sugar. And then we're going to add in half our dry ingredients, our wet ingredients, and then the remaining half of our dry ingredients. So we're just gonna whisk that together, make sure it's a nice thick batter consistency, and then we're going to transfer that to a 9x13 glass pan that I buttered and floured in preparation for this. Since I'm just gonna cut out a whole bunch of circles, I don't need cake pans. I'm just gonna do this in a 9x13. So we're gonna bake this. I think I baked this for about 45 minutes, but it's gonna be really nice and golden when it comes out. We're gonna let it cool for about an hour, and then I'm going to take a glass and punch it out. And then it had this powdered sugar moon, so I just took the exact same glass I used to cut them out, and I used that as a template to stencil on a powdered sugar crescent moon. Now we're working on the Limoncello Sabayon. I'd also never made a Sabayon before, but I found that it was egg yolks, sugar, and an alcohol. So you can also substitute a non-alcohol, but it is limoncello, so I had no choice but to use limoncello. But basically you whisk the eggs until really light and frothy, and then you add in the sugar and the alcohol, and then you cook that in a double boiler until it thickens up and is nice and creamy. And then I poured that over the plate, and I served this as it was in the restaurant with some blackberries and freeze-dried raspberry pieces. Moving on to the Tteobokki Skewer, we're going to make our Yuzu Aioli. So I combined some Kewpie mayo, yuzu juice, yuzu kosho, and a teeny tiny bit of sesame oil. A little bit goes a long way. Whisk that together and put that in a piping bag. And then I'm taking some hot dog and the tteokbokki cakes that I softened a little bit and putting those on a skewer. I am searing those until they're, one, heated all the way through, and two, get a really nice char on both sides. And I did that with a little bit of Japanese barbecue sauce. And then I'm taking some mozzarella, like fresh sliced. We don't want pre-shredded. And then I'm putting that in a griddle, heating that up until it's nice and melty. And then I'm folding it over the skewer. And I'm trying to get a nice, like, crisp sear on the, like a nice crispiness on the mozzarella. And then I'm brushing it with additional Japanese barbecue sauce. We're going to remove that from the plate, brush with a little more, and then drizzle that yuzu aioli on top. And then we're going to finish that with some scallions, and that's the tteokbokki skewer. So let's dive into my thoughts here. I have a couple thoughts specifically regarding this tteokbokki skewer. Right off the bat, I saw two different opinions about this emerge online. Some people really, really liked it, and some people thought it was kind of meh. Personally, it was fine. It wasn't anything super special. I think a couple tweaks would have helped. So the description online from the Star Subao page on Epic Universe's website says that it's grilled hot dog and rice cake wrapped in cheese crust with yuzu aioli, Japanese barbecue sauce, and scallions. Now, tteokbokki is Korean, and personally, I think if you're going to do something like that, I think a Korean barbecue sauce and something with a little more heat might have been better. Now, I'm recreating this as it was on the menu. I'm not changing things for my preference. I'm trying to recreate these as closely as I can. And I think I would have used a Korean sausage specifically to help kind of tie all of those flavors together. Also, I didn't see whether it specified what type of hot dog. So if you are halal, if you're kosher, that is something to consider, what type of hot dog you are consuming. With the Limoncello Sabayon and Meyer lemon olive oil cake, I thought these flavors went well together. I mean, it's lemon and lemon. I do think the blackberries were essential, and the freeze-dried raspberries, that's as close as I could get to raspberry crisps, didn't super do much for me, but it was good. All right, for this birthday cake cookie, I mean, I thought it was good. It tasted like birthday cake. It was great. I didn't super love the marshmallow texture on top of the frosting on top of the cookie. I thought the combination of textures was a little weird. I think I would have preferred something more along the lines of sprinkles. I also did not super love having to sort through a box of Lucky Charms. Now, I saw that there were like orange and green ones on the cookie, but because the orange and green Lucky Charms had other colors and shapes in them, I decided against using those. So that's why they're blue, pink, and purple. Now, for the one I think people are most excited about is this Pizza Lunar from Pizza Moon. It's the Ube Pizza Crust. This was so good, you guys. This was delicious. I can see why it went viral in the parks. It does cost $19, and for all of the materials I spent on this pizza, I think you can make about 4 pizzas for 20 bucks. That's just a cross section to look at the texture of the pizza itself. I got a comment on Reddit that said I got pretty close to the texture of that pizza crust. So I was trying to go for something slightly floppy, more like Neapolitan style pizza crust. I definitely recommend baking this on a pizza stone. Set your oven as high as it can go for like an hour to heat up that stone. Make sure it's really, really hot. And then bake the pizza for like 10 minutes and then broil it. And that's why I got those like really dark spots on top of the pizza. I will forever now put brie on pizza. That was so good. This was insane. I'll be making this again. We've actually had this for leftovers basically every day this week. So that brings us to the end of the episode. If you liked what you saw, smash that like button. Comments, questions, suggestions, drop those down below. Stay tuned for next week where we tackle the last part of Epic Universe, the Isle of Berk. We are going to attempt the PB&J cones. If you have seen those on your social media, we're doing that next week. So adventurers, as always, do something nice for someone else. Make sure you take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.